Hello again. I couldn't find any videos on YouTube that sort of explains this in Fusion, so I thought I would try and make one myself. Um, so what happened is that you get a 3D object, you import it, but it's kind of hard to get all the shapes correct. So you want to remodel this in Fusion, but the object you have is in 3D already, and it exists in 3D space inside Fusion. Like here is a fan, it's an STL model I imported, and in my case I wanted to have these blades reproduced. So I will show you the result so you will understand what I mean. Here you see the finished product after I did what I did. I made some modifications, but basically it went from this to this. So the whole goal of this video is to how do I make a sketch which I can use from a 3D model from an existing STL object which I cannot edit. For instance, if you're on the free version of Fusion 360, you cannot edit the STL. If you have a paid one, I think you can. So what you have to do is you have to make a sketch that exists in 3D. So you start by making a sketch on any surface. Like for instance, I use the front here, or I use the back here. I would prefer to use the front, and then you create a sketch. And the main thing here with this is that you just need an object that exists in 3D space. You see this exists in 3D space. Now you go up here, and you tick for 3D sketch. What happens then is that you can make the sketch in 3-dimensional, and an object like this would have points along the way here. So we can just select the line tool, and I'll show you here. You have a point that exists in 3D space at a certain position. This one exists a little bit further back. This one as well. So what you in theory could do is you could just make several points like this. See, we just anchor it to the back one. What I'm actually doing now is I'm creating, you can angle it so you better see. You're creating points in 3D which you can then use later on. See, so you're modeling roughly after whatever you're seeing. In case you wonder, it keeps the points are sort of locked to the last one, and then that should be the last one there. So what I've done now is I've made a 3D sketch of this side. I need to make it here down here as well, so you actually get the representation of the sides. There, so there is a 3D side, so you have a top side there, you have this side, and then I'm gonna make a copy of the back here as well. You can see when I rotate into a different position, I can get it to go with the line tool again. Click there, 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 and just continue to do this in 3D space. In case you're wondering, I'm holding down my shift key while left clicking to get the points selected. So now I have this side as well. And now to make the loop complete, I need to rotate a little bit so that I can get to the spaces up here, that one, because you need a complete 3D space like that. like that, like that, that, and there. Now I have that side on the top, and then I need to have the bottom side as well. So we'll just go here, zoom in a bit, make sure you have the right anchor point. Yeah, you can see that it's curving. There, 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 and there. And I do believe that's all of it. So now we're gonna check this 3D sketch that we have made. So let's go there, and I'll just disable the visible body. There. Now you can see that there exists a 3D space. Now, to make this into a solid object, you have to give it surfaces. But before that, I prefer to simplify the sketch a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make everything into dotted lines. And I still operate within the 3D space. So just double click, hold, control, double click, hold, control, double click, like this, like this. And then I just go to the line tool and I select it as dotted lines, because all you need is a reference. Now, after that, you go and use the create. In my case, 3-point arch should be fine for this. There, and then I select the endpoint, and then I select like a middle point. And see, now you have just one line in a straight line there. This to this, and you select this. Okay, and let's do the same for this. I'll just use this and this, and just use a different one of these as an anchor point. You can select several if you want. Like if this has a different specific shape, you could do that. But in this case, you can tell that the shape should normally have been something like this, and that the arch that it had was not real. So I'll just make it like that, and then I'll make this like that as well. I think that's pretty okay. Now you just continue this. In this case, I just want a straight line from A to B. Rotate back. The reason I'm using these kind of lines is because yeah, we can look at it in a different space. How should that be? Maybe I can use a different arch. I think I'll just use a 3-point, just for the simplicity of it. And then this one as well. You get a constrained object if you align it to one of the previous marked points. 3-point arc, there, there. Then I can just lock it into, say, I think that one is better, there. So make sure you get all the points, and there. It's just a matter of recreating the shape in 3D. Sometimes it's hard to select, so you need to sort of swirl it around. I think that is pretty good. Now, what I can do now to avoid confusion is I can... but I see I did this wrong. These are actually arched as well. So, arc... the reason I actually arc these as well is because the object will need the arched front and sides, because it's supposed to go around a round object like that. Now you can see they are arched. Okay, so the next thing is I will just remove all the dotted lines because I don't need them anymore. Sometimes it's hard to see, so you can zoom in. There's one here. Delete those. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the equal sign. Equal. So this one and that one are equal. And this one and... let me see. This one and that one should be equal. And this one and that one should be equal. And this one, actually I want the other one. This one and that one should be equal. I just want to make it equal, okay. That is probably because of all the constraints I have selected. Okay. Let's select all these lines and remove them from the other ones. So all of them are selected, copy, and V, move it out. So now I'm removing all those points. Okay. Now we have the 3D sketch here. Let's see if I can make it equal now. Equal this to this, almost. Okay, let's just leave it like that. I don't want to bug around with it right now. So because I used lines, point lines here now, it should all be perfectly aligned for the next step. So where are my sketch? Sketch should be here. There is the sketch. So now what I could do is I go to mesh, this one, finish form, it's called the create form, and then you use the create loft. What I didn't understand originally was how do I make it follow the shapes. So you select 2 points in the space. I prefer to start with the sides, it's easier to see. So I start with this one and this one, but you can see it does not line up to here. So to make it also conform to those sides, you have to click on rails here, because it gives it a connection point. So you click on that rail because you want to use it, and you also want to use the bottom rail. You can see now it's stretching and following all the sides perfectly. And now I want as simple a model as possible, so I select 1 and 1 to how many squares or faces I want to be on that specific face. So that is 1. Okay, so now you have a face. It's just very simple. Now this is a body. It creates a separate body. You can see here, body 16. So what we're first going to do is we're going to create all these bodies. So you rotate around, you do the same, you go to create, loft, and I select this side and this, and again I go and click on rail and this. See? You're starting to see the point now. And then 1 and 1. So now you have 2 sides. And you need to have solid lines, you cannot use dotted lines for this. Press OK. Still have the sketch up, so we'll just use more lofts. I'll do it from here, so I'll use create loft from this to this, anchor to that, and sometimes you need to rotate it to see. Actually, in this case, I'll just use the other sides because it's easier. So I'll just do a create loft from this to this. And to be sure that it has the right shape, I still go and click rails. Rails and rails. Now I'm sure that it goes to the end, so there's no openings. And simplified the shape. Okay. We'll see. Now we go to top. If I hadn't clicked the rails, it would just be a straight line over there. See? Go here, do it again, rails, and rails. And here could be a gap that you don't see, so you just click rails to make sure that it actually follows all 4. Okay, so now you have 3 sides. You're just gonna finish the last. What loft do is it make a surface from one point to a different point. And you select sort of anchor points that anchor lines that it will conform the rotation after. And then again, loft. I am on the free version of Fusion, so if anyone wonders if why I'm not using the paid function, it's because it's not paid. There. 1, 1. Okay. Like this. And now you can rotate and you can see which sides you haven't made yet. So in this case it's the bottom. So again, the last one, loft, loft. I'll just recreate that. I want to use the other side. This and this. And I rail it to the last 2 edges here. What happens is that this side And this side also uses the specific anchor point as the other ones. So that means that if you do everything correct, they should all equal to faces. That makes it into a solid object later on when you merge them. So there you can see the outline of the fan blade as it existed. So we're gonna do a comparison. So if I bring back the original body, let me see, where is it? It's not that one. I don't know where it is now. Or maybe I deleted it before. Okay, so anyway, these are all just faces. So you want to have these joined together into a body. What you do is then you go to you finish the form. See, it's just faces. And then you go to surface. There, you select everything. See, here are all the sides. Select all of them, then you go to the stitch command under the surface menu. And if everything is okay, it should make green lines like this. If any lines are red, that means that it's not going edge to edge. And now it says no body and there is nothing here. So if there's anything here, it would indicate that you cannot make something. So I just have 6 selected and press OK. You see now I got a solid body instead. So here you have the finished body as a solid object. And this you can, like in my case, what I did was you can sort of go and you can fillet it and you can do whatever you want with it. See? You can treat it like any other objects. See? And that is how you remodel something based on an existing 3D sketch. Existing 3D object. Hope that was helpful. You can do this with more complex objects as well, but it takes more time. Thanks for watching.